Hello everyone, this is Sendariel and I'm making a review about the just recently for me finished 2022 BL series The Eclipse from 2022, meaning it is something from the Middle Ages. No, seriously. Sometimes going back just as a first comment, sometimes when I go back to 2022 or something the like, it's really like you see that it's older. One of my impressions now catching up with more BLs than other people, I felt that the Eclipse doesn't feel like it's old. There is not this amateurish feeling. I mean, we see just 2025, we were gifted with many top highlights, stepping up. But generally, I didn't have the feeling it was like outdated when you look at other BLs from past years. Anyway, what's it about? Let's just go to the description from my drama list. It is saying that maybe you don't remember or some don't know. Warning: there are spoilers incoming. If you have not seen the series or wish to see it in the future, I will have some spoilers. At Supalo, no, I will paraphrase this. There is a school. It's a boy school's drama. There are strict rules, though it's a little bit strange and ominous what those strict rules are. The one rule that we are confronted with mainly, or which is the one that is mentioned, is wearing school uniforms. But on the other hand, it is hinted that it is sort of like a parable to 1984 from George Orwell. This is very clearly hinted through the story itself, when one of the two main characters, there is Ak and Ayan, played by, there is Ak, who is the prefect, one of the prefect. It's something very alien to me as a German, because we don't have such things as prefects. Like the idea of a prefect, I first heard this in the Harry Potter series, and I'm still astonishing about the existence of such a thing. It must be something from the Anglo world. A prefect is the idea that pupils are sort of forming a control status, a controlling organization to control other pupils. And there are reasons why Germany doesn't have it, because it has historical reasons. And I know it's like an outrageous comparison, but the idea that use controls use is expressis verbis, word by word, something from our Austrian painter who was in the darkest time chancellor. He had this idea. It is the perfect authoritarian system is when you elevate some people of the youth to control other youth. Now, I know it dates back from before, but it is still ingrained in my German mind why I am quite emotionally, vividly against this idea. No matter what other people experience when they went to an Anglo school system, I don't know if it's the case in Britain, America, or other Anglo cultures, or Anglo-influenced cultures like apparently Thailand and possibly other Southeast and East Asian school systems. But it's an idea I violently am against, emotionally quite strongly against. And it's quite clear in the story why this is problematic, because you put equals in a position of some spying on others to gain prestige, power, better positions. And this is a thematic. Ak, the leader of the prefects, I have to remember this. I always think of perfect when I think this is prefect. It's not a word I'm very knowing about. Anyway, and it's a system that is ripe for abuse. It's like this Orwellian, because the book appears in the series, is presented in the series, so it's clearly shown this is a parable we're talking about. And there is this Orwellian sentence like all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And then there is this, it goes down from the school president, director, leader of the school, I don't know what it is, it's a headmaster, this really stern woman, which appears later, and she has a teacher who is in control of who is the apparent bad guy, which has a very interesting twist in the end and a very moving twist. Twist I really didn't expect, that the bad guy of the series, this male teacher in control, was not so much the bad guy, and it was very interesting, demonstrating the person, a human being, can be at the same time victim and culprit, which is much more the reality than this idea that we think of, oh, there are the bad guys like in Star Wars and there are the good guys. But that's just something I found it very interesting, that they dared or decided to go this way, that this harsh teacher that we get as the villain from the earliest point is someone who at the end breaks, and it is revealed that he as much was a victim before. This is of course with Ak, the prefect of the, and the actor is named First. Also, what's the entire name? I have to look this up. First is a quite well-known actor. Someone I found, Kanaphan. I don't try this. Look it up. First, he's a quite long-established BL actor by now. You may remember him as the Doctor from this this series from Jimmy C about a doctor under My Magic something. Sorry, my mind is getting a sieve. Where he played the traitor, which is a little bit sad because by looks and appearance and the way he acts, also in interviews, he's quite on top of my personal list of characters, of actors. And if I have to admit a small weakness, there's sometimes I really would be curious if others have this too. Are there details, small details in guys, like from looks or habits, which you really like? For instance, I like large protruding ears, and I like guys with really big, broad mouths with a big smile. And he has a really wonderful big smile, which is why I really love to see him. But back to the series itself. He's a prefect there to keep up the order. And there is an organization, a group called The World Remembers. Because the school is said to be plagued by a curse. Now, right from the get-go, this was sort of a weak point, because there never is the feeling, while the people react like it's a magic curse, the entire story never implies anything supernatural. And I wonder why the people believe in this setting in a curse. There are series which are set with magical overtones or entirely in magic supernatural settings, but I never understood why anyone would believe this is a curse when, like, at some point a doll is burned or a flag is rolled down. You know this if you have seen this. These events are not curses, and it's entirely clear that people did these things. So why do they believe it's a curse, like it's a supernatural thing that happens? It just makes no sense from the context. It's not like a ghost appears or something, or something that cannot most apparently explained by other ways than a human being acting and doing this. So why do they bring this up and everyone accept it? This was a little bit a weak spot. And since it was carrying the drama, the point of the drama, it was sometimes kicking me out of the story a little bit. And then there is a new student, Aya, I don't know, not entirely sure about the correct pronunciation with these nicknames they have in Thailand. And he has an agenda, that is clear. And it becomes clear, I think it is quite revealed early, that his uncle, spoiler warning, his uncle, who we later find out was a teacher at the school, committed suicide. It is interesting how this most apparent shock, oh, he committed suicide, something evil happened, over the course of the series is given more detail. Like, it's not that simple. For instance, we get from the sister, which is the mother of Ayan, that he suffered from chronic depression. And that is, as someone who suffers from chronic depression myself, I'm in the know about this. It is something both physiological, that is probably genetic, it's something that is in the biology, but it is also something triggered by traumatic events. And I know this is both the case for me, so I know that it is probably generally the case. We are predisposition to it, but it's also triggering some traumatic events. And it is more complex, and the longer the story goes on about this simple, we are the good guys, there are the bad guys, there is the victim who killed himself. I mean, he is, that doesn't change. But it gets more complex, and the rising complexity was a very fascinating story to experience, to unfold, like a mystery where you always, almost like an Agatha Christie novel, were always new layers of complexity, both in the development of the characters and in the developments of revelations within the story happened, which I greatly enjoyed. So the characters change, both the main characters, of course, change, though Ak goes through the greater change, but who starts to doubt those strict rules and extremely harsh punishment for something as trivial as not wearing a school uniform. Now, as to the topic, I'm a little bit split about the topic of school uniforms, but that would be another thing. It's something that overshadowed my personal feeling about this show, and I wondered if you watched it, if it was something that was relevant to you. Did you feel that the element of enforcing school uniforms was something that you felt negative more strongly about the system enforcing this? Or did you feel like, oh, it's just a triviality, school uniforms exists, why rebel against it, it's banal? And I personally, I could not come to a conclusion, to be frank. And it's interesting enough when a show manages to keep it in a not certain way. Like, there is no finite answer in the series whether it should be regarded as good to wear school uniforms or regarded to be bad at school uniforms. There is no finite answer. The cruelty of the punishments, the authoritarian system, and this, if you do this, you get a promotion which helps you in life. Like this, well, it's not a meritocratic system, like you are rising because of your skills, but it's a relationship society, which most modern societies actually are. And it's revealing this, like Ak is in close contact to this teacher, and this teacher demands you do this and this, and I give you sort of like a paper which gives you help in life, and he came from a poor background and needed a support, some sort of support system, which is also alien to me. We don't have this in the German school system. And so there's a dependency of the superior and the inferior position, which enforces a system of authoritarianism and obedience, where your future life heavily depends on obeying what a superior person already at school commands you to do, which may be entirely illogical, overly cruel. And this was a topic which was almost more interesting than the love story, to be frank. Now, I found both actors attractive and interesting. And first is one of my favorite actors. Not so much, to be honest, as an actor, but I have to admit it because of the looks. He's just something in my... If you believe in the C.G. Jung, the psychologist, said we have an animus and an anima, which is our perfect and ideal man or woman. And he comes quite close to my ideal animus from the looks and also from the... He's a sort of stoic person. And I've always had felt strongly attracted to more stoic, calm, reserved guys. And I wonder if you, my esteemed audience, have observed similar reactions to actors, the way they are and the way they act, which very often goes along. I don't know if you can call it typecasting. Let me give you an example from a totally different time and actor. There was Sir Peter Ustinov. Maybe you remember him. And Peter Ustinov was... I loved every role he played. I loved every movie he was in. He played Nero in a very old movie. He played Hercule Poirot. But the issue with Peter Ustinov was, which many people said, Peter Ustinov mostly played a variant of himself, or played himself, more or less. If you've seen interviews with him, you see this quite strongly. Now, I don't know how much it is with BL actors, but I think to a degree it is so. When I see behind-the-scene films or interviews with the actors, like in the case of First, he plays often more reserved, more calm, more stoic characters relative to others. Like if you take Force, for instance, the BL actor Force, he's a very outgoing personality, like a ball of energy, and the roles he plays are usually the same. So I've no enough insight into the BL system, how it works. If they take the actor and see, oh, this is his character, and we set him into these roles, I suppose it is so. But I don't know to what degree. I mean, you say acting is playing something different. And there are actors who can play very different roles, but not usually. And it's not like to say this is better or not. A lot of actors who play always in a similar way, like said Peter Ustinov, or Christopher Lee to a certain degree. I really love Christopher Lee in all his roles he played, but Christopher Lee always had the same or similar-ish way to act. And it's in the BL genre even more so. And this is why he clicks to me, because I can associate. It's something that evokes a feeling of sympathy, which I can relate to. And there are, like The Mermaid, if you take this recently going, there is this series about mermen, not maids, mermen. And I couldn't watch it, not because it was bad. It was probably super interesting, but nothing in the main characters and the actors clicked with me. And this is a very interesting observation where I would be quite interested to hear how much it plays a role for other people. Anyway, to come to a conclusion, it was a very interesting series. I really loved it a lot. Despite the reality, I have to say, the First and his counterpart, I don't know what his name, he has no Khaotung Thanawat, he has no nickname, but they played in several BL anime thereafter. I think there is even something coming about a cat cafe, which they will play in the near future. So I'm happy to see them again. But there was, at least in the 2022, which is the first time I saw this couple, this ship, it was not such a convincing love chemistry, I'm sorry to say. It was like this. I wasn't really entirely convinced that these two were really in love. I mean, it was early stage love, and there were very opposing characters, and displayed as such. But it's, unfortunately, I won't say often, but regularly the case that I'm not so convinced that the guys are in love. I mean, it's straight actors, I assume, most of them at least. Maybe some bisexual, maybe even some gay, who knows. But I felt unconvinced, which is regularly the case in BL series. Like, I'm a gay man. I know how I react when I'm in love, how this is. And even if you're a straight person, I think you know how that is when you are in love, especially in that age. And now it is maybe a cultural thing because it's Asia, Southeast Asia or East Asia when you go to Korea, Japan. Maybe the characters are, I don't know how gay men or generally teenagers, late teenagers, I mean, they were in their 20s already as actors, act when they are in an strong emotional situation like falling in love. Are they generally reserved culturally even when nobody is there? This is what I wonder. Because Asia has this saving face culture, but they even act that way when they are alone, which is a really strange thing. And it reminds me of something for many years I read yaoi and BL Japanese manga. And there is this, yaoi is more about when they have sex. And there is this strange phenomenon, that in Japan they address each other with their family name, not with their first name. And there were many manga where they had many times, and still after a year or two, they were absolutely embarrassed to call themselves and unable to call themselves by the first name, while they had for 1-2 years any sort of sex you can imagine and sorts of sex you can't imagine. And this is I have no idea. Is this in Japan the case? Like they have the most absurd level of intimacy, but talking the first name is like, oh God, I'm dying of embarrassment. And this is a similar question which I cannot answer, which is in Thailand. Is the question is do they act like this or not? This would be quite interesting to me. Like how much is this mirroring a real situation of a relationship? And it's just my Western open-minded, personally I'm a very outgoing person. Like is that the reason why I couldn't believe it so much? So it's more personally cultural distance, or is it actually the problem of they can't act it? Maybe if they would act it, or they can, and if they would, it would have difficulties in their countries. So that is a question I have to. It was really something that came into the focus of my thought watching the series. Otherwise, I really loved the series. I had a great time. There was a great mix of drama, of investigation, of continual revelations, of character developments, good-looking characters, interesting characters on all sides. Even the bad guys looked like bad guys, and there is this twist with the stern and supposed evil teacher, which was really one of the highlights of the entire series. If you know it, I won't go into the details here. Which was really the highlight. This moment when it was revealed what was really going on with him. But it was really a highlight which I absolutely loved in the series. Anyway, pondering about it, given this was from 2022, I have to take this into account. I had great fun with it. I was entertained. I watched it, which is always a good measure. How much are you hooked to go on? And I was hooked to continue go on. So I have to consider it, to hold it in high regard. And as such, I will give it a 8.5 of 10. I had a good time. Probably if I was in 2022, I would give it a 9 out of 10. But time has passed and we have a different standard. I have to take this into account. Don't take the numbers too seriously. I had great fun. It was good. There certainly are better ones, especially since time's passed, and especially given, as I said, that the couple chemistry it didn't really so much convince me. But it was a very interesting show altogether. I enjoyed it. I hope you have fond memories. If you haven't seen it, it's something I can highly recommend to watch. Thanks for listening, and bye bye.